Welcome everyone. Today we're going to talk about our new release 2025 stoneware glazes. The first one we're going to start with is SW220 Black Timber. So Black Timber is a crystal glaze. Like our crystal glazes, they have particles of frit in them that melt and bloom during the firing. And you can see Black Timber at cone 5. The crystals are pretty stable, not much movement. If you take it to cone 6, you can see now those crystals really start to flow and move. A lot more movement at cone 6 compared to cone 5. And with all of our glazes, what you see on the website and in our marketing material, we show the glazes at cone 6 with a medium speed, no hold. So we have cone 6, and then you can see the difference between cone 10. So it gets darker, a little bit more modeling. The crystals become more metallic. I would say that Black Timber, one characteristic of it is that if you load it heavy with crystals, you will get a lot more of kind of the black metallic overpowering the glaze. You can see the difference between 1 coat, 2 coats, 3 coats, 4 coats. 1 coat, you can see the crystals are more prominent. You see the specks of them. And then when you go to 3 or 4 coats, you can see that the crystals really move and flow and become one with each other. With our crystal glazes, there will be a big difference between a vertical surface, so vertical surface, and a flat surface. You can see the difference of how the crystals move. And if you are a fan of the flux, you can see how light flux interacts with the Black Timber and the dark flux interacts with the Black Timber. I really love this blue action that's happening when you apply the light flux over the Black Timber. And this was fired to cone 6. So with the Black Timber, clay body doesn't affect it near as much as many other glazes. You can see the Black Timber on a white stoneware. Okay. So there isn't much difference between a speckled clay body. Really, you can't see hardly any difference. Once again, red clay body, not much difference at all between the white clay body, a dark brown clay body. It's getting darker. So here you can see more of a difference. And actually, a black clay body, it lightens back up and looks more similar to the white clay body. So the biggest difference is in a dark brown clay body. And then our cone 10 result. Much more movement, much more the crystals melting together and becoming one. And that's it for the Black Timber. So our next glaze is SW221 Mint Speck. And it actually has the base glaze of 135 wintergreen. And we've come out with these new small particles of frit that are much smaller than our traditional crystals that are in some of our glazes. So these are just tiny little specks of frit that they don't really bloom, they stay in the speck form. All right, you can see those little specks, and it's an orange and a blue speck. Okay, there isn't too much of a difference between 1 coat, 2 coat, 3 coats, 4 coats. The more coats you put on, obviously, the more saturation of the specks you're going to get. And like any of our crystal glazes, we recommend stirring between each use. The specks and the crystals can settle to the bottom of the jar. So a good stir in between your coats is recommended. This is the sample of the Mint Speck at cone 5. The difference between firing it at cone 5 and cone 6, it is a little bit brighter at cone 5, as you can see. But at cone 6, that's what your traditional wintergreen is going to look like. And that, like all of our glazes, we fire to cone 6, medium speed, no hold. You can see at the little bit hotter temperature between cone 5 and cone 6, the specks start to melt more and bloom more. And then if you do take it to cone 10 reduction, you can see that the wintergreen lightens up. It becomes more transparent, and the specks do start to have a little bit of movement. At cone 6, the specks don't have any movement, but at cone 10, they do start to blur a little bit and run. And if you're a fan of the flux, if you apply flux, light flux or dark flux over the mint speck, you can see it becomes transparent and you get like this bluish gray with the dark flux. Clay body doesn't influence the color of the mint speck that much. There you can see it at cone 6 on a speckled clay body. Not much difference. You can see a little bit of the breaking where there's texture. The manganese does show through the mint speck glaze, and so you can start to see some of the speckles from the manganese. We did find that applying it over a red clay body does give it a little bit more of a textured surface. So that's something to keep in mind. We always recommend testing your glazes on your own specific clay body. The same with the brown. It does have a little bit of a different surface texture. And you can find that often happens with matte glazes. Matte glazes with heavy iron clay bodies sometimes have different surface qualities compared to a white stoneware clay body. And here on a black clay body, dark black, very smooth, but no real change in color. And I really love the outcome of the cone 10 result. You can see this white crystallization occurring. So this is cone 10 reduction. Our next glaze in the 2025 release is SW222 Green Jasper. And at cone 5, you can see here is one of our crystal glaze. So it has little particles of frit in it that melt and bloom during the firing. We recommend always stirring between applications. The heavier your application, the more crystals that are going to form on your piece. Cone 6 compared to cone 10, not much more movement, but there is more movement. 1 coat, 2 coats, 3 coats. So this cone 10 was a light reduction. So it does say on the tile, cone 10 reduction. However, it depends upon, who's firing the kiln and how it was fired, how much reduction is taking place. So you can see a little bit of the red forming here in the cone 10, but comparative to the drips that we did at cone 10, the copper in the crystals are really churning red at cone 10. So I'll move on to the different clay bodies. So a white clay body at cone 6, a speckled clay body, a red clay body. I really like how the green jasper looks on a red clay body. It gets these purple tones. You can see those purple tones there and aqua tones. And where it breaks over the texture, you're able to see the clay body. And that's due to the base glaze being SW250 white opal, which is a transparent glaze. It's a milky clear glaze. Here you can see it over a dark brown clay body. So like the red clay body, you're getting those purple hues, these turquoise hues, and you're able to see the dark brown clay body through the glaze. And then if you use a dark black clay body, you get a lot of the white tones showing up. I think of this as an absolutely stunning glaze, especially on dark clay bodies. And if you fire to cone 10 with the heavy reduction, you're going to get these red copper red crystals. Our next glaze is SW223 Milk Glass. So Milk Glass is going to be a semi-transparent glaze depending upon the thickness. So you can see 1 coat, 2 coats, 3 coats, 4 coats. It really needs a good 3-coat application to get that white milk glass effect. If you do a lighter coat, you're going to get some bluer tones. And if you do a real thin coat, it ends up being that tan color. So we recommend 3 good coats to get the white effect. And where it does break, you can see the clay body in between. So cone 6 result, what's really unique about milk glass, if you do fire to cone 10 reduction, you're going to have a mighty big change. So our cone 6 result compared to our cone 10 result. And you can see the drastic change. And there's a big change between the 1 coats, 2 coats, 3 coats, 4 coats at cone 10 also. You get this modeling effect at cone 1 and this milk glass effect with 4 coats. 1 coat, 4 coats. The clay body will really influence the outcome of the milk glass. So on a white clay body, pretty opaque, right? You do see the breakage where there's texture. You can see the clay body. This is on a white stoneware clay body at cone 6. Speckled clay body. You can see the specks coming through on a red clay body. So you're starting to get these blues and green hues to it. Cone 6, red clay body. A dark brown clay body. The glaze once again darkens up with the darker clay body. It is somewhat transparent with the black clay body. So what I mean it's transparent is when you have a texture, it's going to break and you're going to see the clay body through it. In a large surface area, it stays fairly opaque. But with the texture, it shows the clay body underneath. And then cone 10, much bluer, purples come out. And if you're a fan of the flux, the light flux, not much change, it's just gonna stay white. But I'm a real big fan of the dark flux over the milk glass. You can see that beauty there, all that action that's happening. So that's SW402 dark flux over SW223 milk glass. All right, our next glaze is 224, which is tropical teal. So tropical teal at cone 5, you can see where it's a thin application with one coat. It's very green. The more coats you apply, the more blue it changes to. So this is at cone 5, medium speed. You can see if your glaze application is a little bit uneven too, you get variation in the color of the blue-green. So cone 5 result. Not much difference between cone 5 and cone 6. Once again, if it's a thinner application, you're gonna have much more green results. The thicker the application, more blue. If you do take tropical teal up to cone 10 reduction, not much difference. Results are about the same. It might lighten just a bit, won't be quite as opaque, but you're still getting that nice blue-green modeling. Cone 10 reduction. And then for the fans of the light flux and dark flux, you can see with the light flux, the creamy white nature of the light flux shows through. Tropical teal doesn't really change the color of the flux much, but with the dark flux, you can see that it changes to a chocolate brown. Here you can see the modeling effect. This is on a white stoneware clay body, fired to cone 6, medium speed, no hold. Speckled clay body, you can see the manganese specks coming out. It does allow those specks to penetrate and become visible on a red clay body. So you can see the modeling that occurs. It does start to show a little bit more of a green hue, and over the texture you're able to see the red clay body. The same goes for a dark brown clay body. You're able to see the texture, or with the texture you're able to see the dark brown clay. And once again, more of a greenish hue occurs compared to the cone 6. And then with a dark black clay body, the glaze actually becomes a little bit more white. Still this beautiful modeling occurring. And this is what I was talking about, becoming a little bit more transparent fired at cone 10. You can see it becomes less opaque, more translucent. So SW224 Tropical Teal is dinnerware safe. So our next glaze is SW514 Sage Gloss. So it's part of our 500 series of gloss glazes. With the gloss glazes, if you're not familiar with them, they are totally intermixable. You can come up with your own shades, but we're trying to give you a much needed sage color. So the Sage Gloss is opaque. You can see with 3 good coats, solid coverage. You're not seeing any of the clay body showing through over texture. And this is fired to cone 5. At cone 6, with 1 coat, 2 coats, 3 coats, not much of a difference. So if you do fire to cone 10, you can see that the color becomes much lighter it almost becomes almost like a baby blue color. But there is no movement, and over texture, it still remains opaque. You do not see the clay body. You can do design work with it, not have any blurring occur, and it is totally opaque. On a white clay body fired to cone 6, the sage is completely opaque. The texture does not cause the clay body to be seen through the glaze. However, if you do fire with a speckled manganese clay body, the specks do come through and you are able to see the specks. So speckled clay body fired to cone 6. If you do use a red clay body, it can result in a little bit of a surface difference. So we recommend you always test on your specific clay body. And that also goes for a dark brown clay body. You can see a little bit of different surface occurring there. On a dark black clay body, we're not finding any surface differences occurring. So it's almost exactly comparative to the white clay body. And then fired to cone 10 reduction, you can see it's starting to churn, lighten, but it's still remaining very opaque, and you're not able to see the clay body through the texture. Another addition to our gloss glaze series is SW515 Aqua Gloss. So Aqua Gloss, once again, is an opaque glaze. You do not see the clay body through the glaze. It remains completely stable. There is no movement. When you apply one gloss up against another gloss, there is no fuzzy line, there's no blurring. The glazes remain clean and crisp. At cone 5, Aqua Gloss is opaque. It stays very true to the cone 6 results. So we don't find much of a difference between cone 5 and cone 6. We do recommend 3 good coats for a completely opaque coverage though. You can see with the 1 coat, it is transparent. If you do fire to cone 10, it lightens up. You can see the difference here. It becomes much more blue hue, but it does remain opaque. You do not see the clay body showing through where there is texture. So a white stoneware clay body, you do not see the breaking line where there's texture. Fired to cone 6, a speckled clay body, you do see the manganese specks coming through the surface of the glaze. A red clay body, not much change in color at all. You wouldn't see the difference really between the white clay body and the red clay body. However, we did find with a dark brown clay body, you will have surface differences. And we always recommend you test on your own specific clay body and firing temperature. A black clay body, really no difference between the white stoneware. But there will be a difference if you fire to cone 10. It becomes lighter blue, but it still remains opaque.
Okay.
So, like all of our gloss glazes, Aqua is dinnerware safe. Included in our 2025 release is AG006 Sparkle Black. So, Sparkle Black, like its name, you can see those beautiful sparkles reflecting. So this was fired to cone 6. At cone 5, we didn't see much of a difference. Here you can see at cone 6, not much of a difference between cone 5. We recommend cone 6. If you do take it to cone 10, those sparkles flatten out and they become gray spots. Really cool effect, but they won't be sparkly anymore. There'll be more of these gray kind of bloom circles. This is cone 10 reduction. The way we use this Engobe, it's a little bit different than our other Engobes in that it has sparkles. And for best results, we recommend that after your second coat, you take your finger before it's completely dry, and you rub the surface. You can do circular motion. And what it does is takes a little bit of that covering of the black engobe off of the sparkle and reveals the sparkle so it sparkles better. It's not required to do. However, it enhances the sparkle by removing that little bit of top layer of black engobe that's on top of the sparkle. If you do apply it underneath the glaze, it is not needed to burnish it, to rub that little bit of top layer off of the sparkle. And if you do use it with other stoneware glazes, it does show through depending upon that glaze. So an example is one of our new glazes, SW223 Milk Glass. You can see how the sparkles no longer sparkle, but become little black dots that have a little bit of movement, almost as if you're using a manganese clay body. And this is a larger surface area where you can see that same combo, the SW223 over the black sparkle engobe. A couple other combos. You can see here the sparkle black engobe was applied 2 coats, then green tea, and then the new SW223 Milk Glass was applied 2 coats right there. Beautiful combo. And you can see those sparkles become little black specks floating. The same combo fired to cone 10. Absolutely amazing combo. Here where the green tea is only applied, you can see the sparkles, which become black specks underneath the glaze, are really visible. So a tip for EG007, the sparkle black engobe. It is formulated with a different base than the EG005 black engobe. If you want to put a clear glaze over top of the sparkle black, we recommend that you use 04 zinc-free clear. With the normal black engobe, if you put the 001 clear glaze over top of it, it will remain black. But with the new sparkle engobe, if you apply the 001 clear stoneware glaze, it will result in more of a brown tone. So we recommend, for using a clear glaze over the sparkle engobe, use the zinc-free clear. So we do not recommend applying the sparkle black or the new terracotta over top of an underglaze. If you do, you'll end up with a surface irregularity. Here you can see that it might be something you're looking for if you're looking for a really unique texture. However, if you want to use the engobes and underglaze, we recommend using the underglaze over top of the engobe. And here you can see UG207 Flame Red over top of the sparkle engobe. And you can see those sparkles underneath the Flame Red underglaze. So to be clear, underglaze over top of the engobe, not the engobe over top of the underglaze. Included in our 2025 release is EG007 Terracotta Engobe. If you do fire to cone 5, it's going to have an opaque coverage. We recommend 2 coats. You can see there isn't much of a difference between 1 coat, 2 coats, 3 coats, 4 coats. So we recommend 2 coats. If you do apply it too thick, it can crack. So we do recommend 2 coats. Especially if you're applying it over a texture, you want to make sure it doesn't get too thick in that texture and pool. That can lead to some cracking issues. Cone 5 compared to cone 6, not much of a visible difference. And if you fire to cone 10, it darkens up a little bit. So a little bit more brown rather than terracotta. And you can see on a white clay body, at cone 6, you can see how it turns a little bit darker. Cone 10 reduction. With the engobes, they will influence how the glaze you apply over top of them looks, especially with combos. An example is one of our new glazes 224, which is Tropical Teal. So this combo, you can see the Tropical Teal over top of the Terracotta Engobe is much darker than where it is just over the white stoneware. This is a beautiful combo of Tropical Teal SW224 with SW219 Cinnabar over top of it, fired to cone 6. And if you do fire to cone 10, the same combo, beautiful results. And always check out our website for new releases with new and exciting combos.